Welcome to the second video in the AI agent series. What we're going to be running through today is how to build the second part of our time and task management agent. And as we can see here, this is part of our task and time management agent. As you can see here, all of the different activities we're going to be automating. In the first ever video we did around the master agent, so actually assigning the tasks. So if you're looking to understand how to actually build your own AI agents in platforms like make.com, let's dive straight in. Brilliant. So that's the first module that we've been able to run through, which is around calendar management. The next one we're going to go through is around actually sending out a meeting invite, so that we're able to send out an invite for a meeting, as you can see here, and send a confirmation email at the end. So let's copy some of these points across just to get started. We'll come into our modules, we'll come down here, we'll get rid of that filter. So in this case, again, what we're looking to do is the output from our OpenAI. We're saying it needs to be scheduled meetings, and then we'll come down this pathway. Now we're going to update this to say that we've got our specific sub agent running. We've got no other details to update here. So in this module here, again, we're using ChatGPT. Whilst this loads up, again, look how quick we were able to do this example. If this is running 24/7, we're going to turn this on in the background afterwards. It's able to do it so quickly, so seamlessly, almost in the blink of an eye. But getting back to this one, so what we've said is basically they're looking for a meeting to basically be scheduled. We're analyzing all of the information. We're going to output basically if it's present or empty, because what we're looking to do is analyze to see if we can extract the first name or sort of the full name. So as you can see here, we've got all of the information that's coming through, and then we've got the full name. So we're giving it a few examples in there. We've come down to this next one, which will be a user, and then we'll do the task, and then we'll come down back to the start as always, and we'll do task, we'll do save. And then what we're looking to do is pass all of that information. So again, to do that, you need to do add, you do my data structure, you would just pass the information in there, do generate, and it'll open it all up. We've already got one generated, as you can see here. And what that looks like is status and then full name. So that's exactly what you should see when you go through. Would do save, is using the JSON module, it's using the JSON output from the OpenAI module that we've just got. Would do save, so that we can run through it. And then what we're going to do next is actually start to go through the two different options. So we need a router, and we're going to go through the bottom one first, which is name exists. We're going to come into here, we're going to do status equal to empty. We'll do contains case insensitive in case it comes through, and then we're good to go. So I'll just copy these two across because it's not major for this specific action. But what it's basically going to do is send a message into the Slack channel that is going to say, as we can see here, I'm not able to complete this action because we weren't able to find the name. We'll just do task, and then we'll add that in here so they know what we're referring to. We'll come down to save, and then we're just going to mark it as blocked because we're not able to go through and complete that action. Now, if the name exists, we know that we've got status equal to present because that's how it's come through in here. Again, you could do it exists if you want to do it that way. That could be another way of running through. And then we're going to go and search for that information and get all of the key details that we need. So let's search for contacts. We're going to come in here, Google Contacts, search contacts. We're then going to query the search is going to be the full name. We're looking for one response to come back. We'll do save, rename to search or person, and then we're going to iterate through. So let's get the next part in here, which is going to be using ChatGPT to really analyze what we want to discuss in that specific meeting from the input that we provided it. So again, always having the priming prompt, then the actual information coming through. What we'll see here is that his goal is basically to extract the information such as description, start time, end time, what we're looking to get out of it, all of this stuff. We've provided the current date time so it knows how far in the future, what it's likely to be. And then we're saying it needs to output it in a JSON structure so that we can go and use this information. So again, we've given it some examples here, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and we've reiterated some of the critical information at the end here. So for example, the date time standard 8601, which is basically how all of the date times in make.com and many other platforms work. So the meeting context, we need to come back down to the start and do task. We need to come back up to the name. So again, using the search module, we're doing name, and I'm going to do display name because that's the person we're meeting. The company, we can actually get rid of that, and then we can do organization and name and put that in there so maybe we know who they are or where they're coming from. Again, we've reiterated at the end here, we want raw JSON output. We don't want it to say JSON or ... at the output. because otherwise you'll have issues. Again, as we just ran through for the other one, we were able to create our own JSON extract analysis. Again, it's going to be looking for a subject, meeting description, start time, duration, and that's it. We do save, and we're using the output from our ChatGPT module so that we're able to go through and do this. So for example here, we could do okay, we'll copy this, we'll run this module so you can see how it works. We'll do okay. So as you can see, it'll output a JSON as we've got there that we're able to use. We can copy this information. We'll run this module for the JSON, and you'll see the output is nice and formatted here so that we're able to go through and do it, which is much better. Again, remembering the output is hour, minute for the actual duration that we've got there too. If we come back into our task management, let's copy these so we can run through the rest of it. Conscious we've got quite a bit to get through today. So what we're going to be doing, well, if we've found all of this information, we want to go and generate a meeting. So we're going to be using the create an event. So again, Google Calendar, we're going to do Google Calendar. We're going to do create an event. So this module here, we're looking for the event name. So again, from the past information, we're going to put the subject. We're then going to do the start date time, which again, remember is that ISO 8601 format that we've done. We've tied it into our specific calendar that it's going to come from. We've got no end date because instead we're going to be using duration. We'll come down to duration. We'll add that in there. We can come down to description, we'll add description in there. We can do location is Google Meets, we'll set that automatically. We're then gonna reminder, default for the event. We've got display name, so for example down here, we can do display name, and then the email address, as we mentioned before. If we come down to our search contacts, we've got the array of email address, and we're looking for the value. And then we're just going to put number 1 in there because that's going to be the first email address we find, and that's likely to be the one that we use the most. We'll update all of the notifications, all of the guests. We'll also come down to the bottom here and add Google Meeting for Google Conference. We'll do save. Brilliant. So having done that, what we're now going to do is send an email to those individuals so they get a notification that that meeting's been created. Again, this is really great practice just to make sure that you're providing a great experience, but also inform them if anything goes out, you're able to see it as well. Again, you can do this as a draft or you can send an automated email straight away. Just depends on how you prefer to work and maybe the risk level associated with sending somebody emails. Maybe you approve it to do internal, but you don't allow it to do external. So as we can see here, we're asking it to generate a concise booking meeting. We're also confirm booking meeting email. We've got to make sure that it's being polite, no swearing or rude language is involved. We've also got markdown formatting, so BR, because otherwise what will happen is it won't store that information in a readable format for when we go to actually use the email. We've got some requirements in there. We've got some instructions, and then we've given it some example inputs and outputs, inputs, and we've got some more outputs. So this is what it would say in the email is the output. Okay, brilliant. So the next part is actually feeding it all that information that we've just gone through. So first we need the subject. So again, you can come and use it from the Google Calendar, or we can come down here and do subject from the one before. And we can come back here and do start date time if we've got that as well. And we can do save. So now it's going to come up with an email. Now again, we mentioned that we've got send an email here, but actually you could do Gmail, or they've actually got an email module in make.com, and you could do create a draft instead. And what that would do is create an email that you're able to send yourself, having approved it, instead of doing it automatically. If you were to do it automatically, this is what it would look like from Gmail. So you'd be able to specify maybe a from email address. Maybe you would create an AI agent at company name, for example, so that it's always tied into that. We're going to have the email addresses. So again, from before, we're going to come down to email, and we're going to do the email address value from our previous module. We'll do number 1. So this is coming from where we've searched for that person right to the start a bit earlier on. We're then going to go through and actually include their name as well. So we can do name. Now what we're looking for is the given name, because this will be their first name associated with that account. We'll do the result. This is going to be our ChatGPT module. So we'll get rid of that. We can hover over a result, and as you can see, is that one there. Again, we've got an example output there. We can copy ourselves if need be too, so that you can see any of the emails going out of your company. We're also going to send a message back to our Slack channel so that once it's all done, it's all good to go. We know. We're also going to make sure that we update, so we can come in here and change. Again, we'll do name. We're looking for display name. We can do display name. We can also come down here and again just update the email addresses. So we'll do email and we'll come down here to email address and value. There we go. So we'll just get rid of that full stop so it goes afterwards. We'll do number 1 because again we're looking for that first item in the array, and we'll do full stop. We'll do save, and now we can see it all ready to go. So again, this is now going to try and add a meeting with a specific person. So let's give it a quick test. We'll say, please can you book a meeting with Alex Followill on Friday to discuss YouTube growth plans and the business analyst master class in the school community. We'll send that off. Again, we need to run our master AI, so we'll just send that off specifically. So we'll come into our Airtable. As we can see, we've got the new one in there. We've got a to do. Come back across to task management. We'll do run once, and then what it should do is go through, identify that we've got the information. Oh, we got a quick error here. So this is because of the record ID. We need to come back down to record ID. We'll do save, and then we'll just come back into our Airtable. We just change this back to do so that we can give it a quick test again. We'll come back in and do run once. What it can do, as we can see there, it's gone through automatically. It's been able to find the information. So for example, Alex Followill, it looks like I've not put the name, I've not put the spelling in correctly, so we just need to change that. We'll do contains case insensitive. We'll just give that a quick test again. So we'll come to do. Okay, so we'll give that a quick test again. We'll do run once. Should go through. So it's found the correct channel, which is great. It's now going through and finding the person. So as you can see here, it's correctly found me, found my email address that's gone through, and now we're all good to go. So it's gone through, scheduled the meeting, which is great. As we see here, we've been able to extract the information. So the subject, what it is, we've come up with a nice concise description that we've got in there around the business analyst masterclass that we've got in school. We've created an event, we've sent a notification email. So in here, again, a few points around it, then actually sent it directly. We've then sent confirmation back into our Slack channel. So if I come down here, we've got, I've booked the meeting, and then we've got the email address that it was sent to. If I come back into our scenario, it looks like it's failed here, probably because of the ID we forgot to update. So we'll just come in here and update ID, and then that will be all good to go, and we can do save. And then all we'll do for ease, we'll copy this across and we'll store it in our Airtable, because what it would have done is it would have stored that information in there, and now it would have updated it to done. Great, so that's that specific module done. So again, any issues we'll be able to go through. So if we're not able to find the name, then it would ask for some more information. So let's give that a quick test. We'll do please book a meeting for Friday at lunchtime. We'll do run once. We'll come in here, it's logged the actions, as we can see here at the bottom. We'll then come back into our actual agent. We'll then do run once. So we can go through, as we can see, identify the information, and there it's come in, added the message back to our Slack channel. So if I come in here, I'm not able to book the meeting, couldn't find the name. So again, that's all working perfectly fine. Again, similar to issues before, I'm presuming that we just didn't update the ID in here. So let's go and do that quickly. Again, using the first ID, we'll do saved, and it would have moved it to blocked. So we can copy and paste this across, because that would have been exactly the same as what we had in our module. Actually, let's give that another quick run just so you can see it working in real life. Again, what we're seeing here is it works so quickly, so effortlessly. So if we come in here, we've now got a second message for that exact same one. If we come into our Airtable, as you can see, they're all updated with that key information, and it shows it's blocked. Brilliant. So that's all working perfectly fine. What we're now going to do is go through the next section, which is around monitoring and prioritizing tasks. So let's copy this across. We'll come in here, we'll do filter, we'll do monitor our tasks, we'll do the result, we'll do equals to case insensitive. Now, conscious of time, let's copy some of these modules across. So let's start with the first three, because that will be how we're going to run through this specific part. So we'll paste that in there, we'll connect it up, and then we'll get rid of that. So we're going to update the ID first, so we don't run into that same issue a bit later on. Let's come down, we'll do ID, and then sub agent, we're going to do result, because that'll be the one that we're running through. So status will move to in progress, but again, up to you if you've done that before. Now we're going to extract key task items in this specific module. Again, what we're looking to do in this case is actually add an item to our Motion account, but if you're using ClickUp, Monday.com, anything like that, They've got all of the integrations in here. So for example, Monday, Click, if you've got any other platform, you'll be able to use it in there. They've got Jira, for example, lots of platforms they'll be able to go through and update. So let's see what it's actually doing. So we'll come into here. We've got our priming prompt first, as we can see. So we're basically going to analyze it and try and extract the task. We're going to determine if it's, a new task, update, delete, anything like that. So we're going to have, again, a few different options that go through. We're going to look for date time format. We're going to requirements, again, any other information. This is going to be the JSON output that we're looking for. Again, we're going to update that in a minute. We're going to give it some examples or the key information. We've given it today's date so it understands. And then we've given it a few example inputs and outputs that it's able to run through. Now, the user information, we're going to come back here and we're going to come back to the start and do task. Because again, we're looking for it to actually generate a task based on this. We're going to output as raw JSON so that we're able to use it in the future. Now, again, similar to before, we've got the structure in here. So to do that, all you need to do is come in here and then we'll do add a date structure. We'll do extract task items. We'll do generate. We'll input an example in there. And as you can see, date found, action, and then we've got action title as well. So that's all the information we need. And we're going to be using the JSON output from our previous ChatGPT module. So we'll do save. We'll do OK. Now, we can run through the next part. I'm using Motion, but again, this works exactly the same for any of the other channels that you'll be using for Click, Monday, anything else. So let's come in here and then we'll copy this across. Brilliant. So let's connect this up. So I'm using Motion. So what you want to do is Motion, and then we're going to be listing all of the tasks. So we want to do search task. So what we're looking in here is for some of the key information that's been asked for. So as you can see, we've not got a specific name. We've tied it to our specific workspace that we've got our actions with. So again, imagine if this was a direct agent, it would work for you. You could also map this into multiple people in your organization if need be, so it works for them. We've got our ID in there, and what we're looking for is any of the opportunities that are backlog, blocks, in progress, or to do. We're going to have a limit of 20 results that come back. Now, because we're going to be outputting lots and lots of tasks from here, what we're going to do is store them in a text aggregator so that we're able to use that in the next step, which is actually going to be listing out all of the key action items. So we've had to break this down into 2 steps. Again, we're using ChatGPT, and what we're saying at the start is giving it the prompts where it's going to go through and analyze all of the tasks that have come through. So task name, due date, priority, all of this. We're going to compare it with today's date. We're going to look at the priority. We've got a few examples that have come through. So again, as we can see here, that's how it has come through. And now what we're going to say at the bottom here is, without any additional information, actually go through and analyze that and then put the structure in a usable format. So once it's output then, we're then going to come into our format dates one. And what we're looking to do here is just make it in a nice usable format, because what we see is sometimes it's got like hashtags or it's got some of the stars or the asterisks next to them. And that just doesn't look as good for when we're trying to send some messages across. So we'll come into here. As you can see here, we've just got it to be a readable format, giving it some instructions, giving it a really clear example output that we're looking for. Again, breaking down tasks that are due today versus other days. We're doing that in order of the days that they're due. We've got some example inputs, outputs, all of that good to go. And again, outputting, and we're structuring the format at the end. We're sharing the task, so this is going back into our Slack channel. We'll do result, and then we're just going to update it and say it's case closed. So we'll come into here. We'll just update the ID. So at the bottom, we've got ID. We've got the message, and then we've said it's done, and we've got everything else good to go. So if we save that, let's give that a quick test. We'll zoom out. Actually, let's do auto align so it's nice and easy. Come back into our Slack channel, and we'll say, please tell me what the key actions are due today. We'll send that off. We'll come back into our scenario. We'll run this again. So it's going to add our action. We'll come back into our Airtable so we can see at the bottom there, we've got a new action. We'll come back into our scenario. We'll do run once. So again, this will be running automatically in the background. You can change it to be every minute. As we can see here, it's going through extracting all of the key information. So we've got, again, today's date. We've got the list. We've got key actions coming through. We've got it in a more usable format after passing that information. We've gone through and extracted all of the key information, and then we've aggregated it all together like you can see here. And now we're trying to put it into a more readable format. So when we get it back into Slack, which we can see here, it's got all of the key information that's coming through that we'll be able to use. We can also go into our Airtable, and you see all of the information in there, and we've updated it to be done. So that's great. That's all working fine now. Brilliant. So the next one that we've got here is a bit more complex, and this is just around updating tasks that we've got in our pipeline. So we'll come into here, we'll copy this, we'll come back into our scenario, we'll do paste, we'll connect this up, we'll get rid of that, and then we'll just readjust the filter. So we're looking for setting reminders as the output from our routing agent. We'll just save that and we'll zoom in a bit. We'll also update the sub agent as well. We'll do save. So we're going to extract the key items. So again, this is going to be exactly the same as the other one that we've just done for our motion. We're going to come in here and extract the key activity that we need to do. So we're going to come down to the bottom and do task. Again, very similar to prompt for what we've just run through. I won't run through it here. And then again, we're going to be extracting a similar sort of information. So we can give it a quick example. So we can come into here and do extract task items. We can do save. We can then go through and add the rest. So what we need to do is have a filter that goes through for the first couple of tasks. So if we come into here, we're going to add that in so that we can walk through it a bit easier. So we've got the ones in here. So again, what we're looking for is the action as add task, or we've got delete a task, or at the bottom here, we've got update task. So what we're doing here is actually using make.com. We're using make.com to update our motion tracker. So search for task. What we need to do in here is update the action title, because we're using ChatGPT to analyze the task and really identify what that may be. We're going to output everything we can find that relates to that specific task. We're then going to come down to the bottom here and do exactly the same based on action title for ones that are in progress that we want to actually update and are still live. Now up here we've got two routes that we can do, so let's copy that across. We'll do copy, and then we'll tie these in as two different options. So let's actually connect those together. Then we'll delete these two modules so that we can use them, and let's zoom in. So if we've mentioned a date in the actual parsing, so again, we've analyzed the data, we're passing this information into a nice usable format. We're going to go through this top one here, if the date exists, to generate it. If not, we're going to go through the bottom one, which is date has not been found. So again, date does not exist, because we're going to default it to a specific time period to complete it. So the name, again, we're going to be searching for the action title in our ChatGPT module and then parsing it, so we can use that. We're going to come a bit further down to workspace ID, where we're storing all of this information. You can update this to what you need it to be. Maybe you want to set them as medium priority, low, high. Again, this works with ClickUp and with the different channels as well. Due date, we're just going to change to the other one. Again, it will automatically analyze it and find that it's got ISO 8601 format, or that's how it would output it. And we're going to default it to maybe a 15-minute reminder, 15-minute task, so that you can go and update it if need be. If there's no date associated, what we're going to do is come through, we'll update the action title. We're then going to come a bit further date, and what we're going to say is the due date is 1 day from now, So to do that, you would just need to come across to where we've got the calendar at the top. You would do add days. Then all you need to do is now and then 1. If you wanted that to be more than 1 day, all you would do is change for whatever you want it to be, so that it gives you the time. Again, we're defaulting it to 15 minutes so that you can go through and update it if need be. If you want to change that maybe to half hour, you'd be able to do that as well, or maybe you could add an adjustment to this where you're able to go and specify the date time that you want it to be. So again, in here, what we're looking to have is the name of that specific task, when it's due, the task ID, and then we're going to close it off complete. So again, we'll just come in here and update the IDs, and we're going to send the text of all of that information we just saw. We'll just do exactly the same again for the bottom one. If there's been no date found, we'll get rid of that and update the ID. So that's going to be if we're able to add a task based on information found. The next one we're going to run through is how to delete a task. So if you find it here, it's very simple. All we need to do is delete a task and then confirmation. So let's copy those two last ones across. We'll add that in there. But what we're going to do is connect these up, and then we're going to add a module from motion, which is going to be delete a task, as we've got there. Task ID, we're going to use task ID from our last module that we've searched for, so we're able to use that. We'll do save. We're then going to come through and we're going to extract that specific name, so we can do name. We've got name in there, so we can use that. We can do save. So now it's going to notify the individual that they've cancelled that specific task or deleted that specific task. We're just going through and update the ID in here, again making sure that we're always storing this information, letting us know that the agent's been and completed that specific action. So if we're looking to update a task, we've then got a little bit more that we need to do. So what we need to do is actually extract some of that key information that we're going to be doing. So the prompts that we've got in here is basically to go through and analyze the data that was provided for that specific task, and then pass out the information that has a specific date time that it wants to be updated to. And again, you can change this. Maybe if you wanted a different duration, you'll be able to do that as well. So as you can see here, we're extracting if we want the title to be updated, description, new due date, anything else, we're able to extract it. We're going to come through and actually output a JSON structure like this. So again, that would be able to be used by the automation a bit later on. Here's a few examples. We'll copy that just to show you how it works. Example 1, example 2, example 3, again with example inputs and outputs that we're doing. Again, you can adjust this to your specific needs, and then we'll come down and just give it to the task details. Remembering to reiterate that it says JSON is a no, we don't want that, we want raw JSON as the output. And then if we run this specific module, what you'll be able to see is how it's going to be output. So as you can see there, we've got a nicely formatted updated action, description, and new due date. So that's what it would need to go through and do. And all we need to do is save that under a specific JSON structure architecture. So as we got there, update action, and we're using the output from our last ChatGPT module, which was our result from analyzing what we need to do with this. Great. So the next one, we're going to go through and update the task, and then we're going to send a confirmation message. So let's copy those two across. We'll paste them in here. We'll tie that together. We'll add the module here, which is just motion. We're then going to do update a task. We'll add that in there. But again, we're going to be using the task ID that we found a bit earlier on. We'll change the workspace ID to be our specific workspace ID. Again, you can make this dynamic if you want to, depending on the person that sent it through. All you need to do is go through and specify this in the AI agent at the start. So maybe it can track who's actually sending the messages through, what their associated ID is, their email, whatever it may be. Task ID, so we're going to get that from down here. So as you can see on the left, starting to pulse. We'll come a bit further down, and then we can load in some information. So again, maybe we need a title, we can input that in there. Maybe we're updating the description, so we can put that in there. We can come a bit further down, the due date, we can change to new due date if need be. And again, the rest will stay the same from what we had before. Again, we can keep that maybe as 15 minutes, just as a standard, and then we can go through it and update it as need be. So we can do update task, and then we'll come into Slack, and all we're going to do is send that information back. So again, that would be the original task information. So from our module 64, what we would do is come in here, we would do name, and we would do due date, and we would do description, and then we would come back across to our updated version. So we'd come in here and we would expand this, and we would do the name. So again, we'll come in here and do name, we'll get rid of this and do due date, and then we'll do description. So the way that we formatted it here is just going to be date, and then it would be the month. But in this case, because we got 3 M's, it'd be JAN for January, JAN, or DEC for December, for example. So we can do save, and then we just need to go through and make sure that we're updating the action so that we know it's complete. So we'll come in here, update the ID, and again, we're storing a response so that we can use it in the future if we need to. Great, so that's now all ready to go. As we can see here, matches what we've got for the other actions. We can come in here and we can do a specific activity. So we'll come in here and we'll say, please can you add a task to update the prompt engineer templates. So we'll send that in. So as you can see at the bottom here, all ready to go. We'll run our master AI. Again, this would be running automatically in the background to add it to our log. So as we can see at the bottom here, we've got a new one that's come through. We'll come back into our actual agent. So as we can see here, it's going to come through, automatically be triaged down here. Looks like we forgot to update something. Yep, the ID. We'll do save. We'll come back into our scenario, just change this to do, and then we'll run this again quickly. And then what it will be able to do is actually go through and automatically add a task for us. So as you can see there, it's gone through and automatically updated it. And if we come in back into Slack, it's automatically updated the task and provided the ID. So if we wanted to go through and update this ourselves, we'd be able to do that. Maybe we want to go and delete a task, so we can come and say, please remove the action to update the prompt engineering templates. We can send that off. We'll just run this once to make sure we add it to our table. There we go. So it's able to capture it, and then it's gone through and deleted everything. We come back into here, and as we can see, I've successfully deleted the following task. Update the prompt engineers. There we go, all working absolutely fine, all working dynamically, which is great, exactly what we want to see. The next section is going to be about actually going through and doing follow-up action items.